Welcome to the BVTV Network, coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. This is episode 2 in the BVTV CSR Trilogy with social responsibility expert Richard Collins. Welcome back, Richard.
Yes, good morning and welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me back for number 2 to look at the 4 pillars, Malcolm. Thank you.
I like the way, by the way, Richard, you bring what is often the complex of CSR. You know, people can make it very complex. You bring it into clearer understanding with your 4 pillars. So tell us, please, about the pillars and how they work for a company wanting to show best practice.
So the 4 pillars, we found we did a lot of work into trying to establish what are these 4 pillars and why 4 pillars, but we wanted social responsibility to be more of a holistic approach that kind of looked at different areas. And we kind of talk about sustainability, not just about environmental sustainability, but the sustainability of an organization for its long-term future and profitability. And so the 4 pillars, we feel, represent that strong framework that everybody can recognize and understand. So we look at those pillars in detail. We have environment, workplace, community, and philanthropy. And they obviously speak from themselves, but I'm going to dive in a little bit to what they are, because those pillars overlap. They don't stand on their own. So if we look at environment, for example, there are all the obvious things like waste management and energy saving, supply chain, fair trade, and looking after the local environment within your community, recycling, refurbishing, and so on and so forth. The list can go on. And then if you look at workplace, we are looking at things like apprenticeships, about training, about skills training, about good governance, about mental health and well-being, diversity and inclusion, and so on and so forth. And then community and philanthropy, there is a bigger overlap, but really with community, we're not just looking at community projects, we're looking at local issues, local economic development, local economic investment, recruiting locally, supporting issues that might be pertinent to the area that you work and live in, as well as supporting community groups. And with philanthropy, we're really looking at charitable giving through pro bono volunteering, for general volunteering, for cash and fundraising, financial support, and so on and so forth. Now, all of those pillars, I think everyone can say, well, hang on a minute, what do we do in our business against the environment pillar? And you can start, actually, we do this. And then before you know it, you've got a list and you can look at each of those pillars. But it also shows where the gaps are as well, and where the advisories are to support you on your journey so that you can add more, and how those pillars can be used to do some very special things. So number 1, if you look at environment, let's say you were going to do a recycling campaign. Now that recycling campaign engages the workforce. So you're creating, team leadership, and it might have an impact on the community. So it has a community impact as well. And so what we can see is that by doing things in each of the pillars, they have overlaps into those other pillars and actually contribute to bigger impacts. And I think impact is a very good word as well, because if we look at the impact reporting, and if we take something very simple, like let's say we've replaced everything for LED lights. So what is the internal impact of that? Well, you as a business are showing leadership. You're showing by example that you're doing something positive. Clearly, the financial impact is you're saving money, a considerable amount of money, by reducing your electricity usage. Then there's a PR impact. It's a good story to tell. It's something you can show that you're doing and give an example for other people to do. And then you can get the KPIs. You can measure the ongoing impacts that you're having by doing these things. So, and then ultimately there's there's the impact of your reputation within the supply chain and to your consumers. So, every action that you take within each of those 4 pillars have those really powerful impacts.
Do you see, one of the reasons I like the 4 pillars, it just arose this week as in my mind, providing a solution. The Chartered Institute of Marketing, in a statement, said that 49% of marketeurs are frightened to do a green campaign in case they are seen as greenwashing. Now, if they're doing the formulation that you're talking about with the pillars, I mean, the pillars are the foundations, aren't they, of a good approach there, that wouldn't be greenwashing, would it?
Well, no. And of course, in the UK, we have the Green Claims Code that came into act in September last year, showing that nearly 40% of UK businesses are making claims they can't back up. And, it's very likely that those organizations can be fined for greenwashing. So it's so important to validate what you're doing. And, using those 4 pillars, it's good to recognize what we're doing, but how do we evidence that? How do we support that and validate that? The nice thing about the accreditation is we have an independent assessment panel of over 50 professionals across all 3 sectors, that when you put your application in, they look for the evidence to support the claims. So therefore, we're independently recognizing and validating to make sure that there isn't any greenwashing. But we do respect that you can't evidence everything you do. If you're a sole trader and you say you're recycling plastic, we're going to have to take that on faith. You can show a photograph of a recycling bin or whatever. So, there is an argument to say, look, we believe people want to do the right thing and we believe what they're saying. But if it's, around your D&I policies or, energy performance, and you can show a reduction in costs, if you can show that evidence to support the financially support it, or show that the staff are engaged in something, or that you get testimonials for charities to say, yes, we did do those 50 hours of volunteering and that had an impact by helping our charity, achieve X, Y, and Z. So it's the pillars become the structure. The structure allows you to look at what you're doing and then how you can then evidence and back up the claims that you are doing what you say you're doing.
Yeah. Now, as we are talking today, a horrible thing is happening in Ukraine. And I thought it was fascinating that companies like Victoria Plum, for example, the plumbing company there, they've got a lot of employees, Eastern workers who are worried about it. They've got offices over there, and they've jumped in with their responsibility, as they say, to their people. And, they're providing helpline and lots of talking points and everything like that. So I didn't want people just to think that CSR was something that was a result of the pandemic. It's alive today, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think the thing is sometimes, tragedies like we see in the Ukraine and, of course, with the pandemic do bring people together and make people want to do the right thing. I think inherently we are good, and I think I get frustrated because, what I see is that 90% globally, because we look at, we have global partnerships. People really want to do the right thing, probably more than 90%. But we only hear all the bad stuff. And of course, what's going on in Ukraine is appalling. But also what's amazing is the absolute acts of amazing kindness, just unconditional kindness. And that just blows me away that that's happening. And I think that the businesses are getting, not just on a personal level, that businesses are getting involved and countries are getting involved. And it kind of gives you a spark of hope in what is a very dark time.
Yeah. Thanks, Richard. Now, let's give viewers and listeners details of your URL, your website address, which obviously, viewers, you can see on the screen behind me. But for listeners, let me spell it out to you. It's all the W's CSR-accreditation.co.uk. All the W's CSR-accreditation.co.uk. Here at the BVTV Conscious and Better Business channel, we're proud to be partnering with Richard's organisation to help you both become and show your commitment to social responsibility across all the 4 pillars. In episode 3, I'm going to ask Richard to tell us about the value and return of investment, ROI, of social responsibility. Should we go there, Richard?
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to that.